Let me tell you about J. Wallace Hamilton, outstanding pastor in Florida many, many years ago. And he tells the story of a pastor friend who was getting on a train back in those days when people rode trains and very few airplanes, hardly many. This pastor was going to a preaching engagement up there in Alabama or Georgia or somewhere. And he noticed across the aisle from him a young man who had a very cheap suitcase there. And he was sitting there. The pastor began noticing how nervous he was. The young man was just so tense and so excited, just afraid looking. And the pastor just said, son, I don't want to try to interfere in anything, but I can tell you're nervous and something is bothering you. I'm a pastor, and I've been through a lot of things in my life. Maybe I could help you. Do you want to talk about it? And the young man said, yes, preacher, I do. He said, let me tell you, I had a falling out with my father a couple of years ago. It was a bad time, and I said I'd never see him again. I never thought he'd see me again. But he said, I wrote a letter to my folks at home. I said, I really want to come home if I can come there. If my dad will let me, I sure want to be there. And I want Mother and Dad to let me come home. And he said, I'd written a letter saying, can I come? And he said, I'm going to be on the train, and I told him when I would be coming, what time it would be. And the train goes real near to my house, just outside the little town where we lived. And I told them when the train starts going around the curve to stop at the station, he said, I will look if they have anything in my house over there on the top of that hill, if they have just something out there white, just a handkerchief or anything that will be able to say, it's okay for me to come home. And he said, I'm so nervous. He said, I don't know what to do. I just going to get off, and I don't know whether they're going to let me come home or not. I'm going to just watch and see if there's anything hanging out there on the tree or the house or the farm or the wire, anything. It's just on the ground. And he said, I'm so nervous that in a few minutes I'm going around that curve up there in another mile or two. The pastor said, son, just sit right here. Let's just pray. I'm going to pray for you. Something good is going to happen. Pray for that. And the young man said, I just can't look. He said, I'm just going to sit here with my head down, and we go around that curve, and I get up there nearly to the station where I could see my house. You tell me whether or not there's anything on the outside the house, on the yard or the fence or anything that's white where I can go in and I can come home and see my folks. And the preacher said, I'll watch. And the young man said, oh, I'm so nervous, and went around the curve. And the pastor said, when they got there, son, look up. Look up. I want you to look up. The young man looked up, and he looked out there. And you know, the pastor too said, I can't believe it. They've got everything they could ever find at white. They have their sheets out there, their blankets, their towels, everything they had that was white covered that whole house with that simple little house with white signs out there, sheets and pillows and everything saying it's home. It's a way to come home. And the pastor said he jumped off that train. He didn't even wait till it stopped. It was nearly stopped. And he grabbed that old cheap suitcase and he jumped off and started running home to the house. All the white sheets were out on the hill welcoming him home. I don't know what you've been in or what you're doing right now or what's happening in your life, what the fear may be. Let me tell you, you're coming around the curve right now, and you know what? The white sheets are always going to be out on the hills welcoming you home. Whatever it's been, making a difference how bad it was, you're home. It's all forgiven. All of the old stuff is gone. The new white sheets of grace are here. That's yours today.